Okay. So look. Okay. So we've been bargaining, and when I say we, I mean the Writers Guild. I'm not actually in the Writers Guild, but I very much hope to be, and I am a writer. And I'm in SAG. Um, so we've been bargaining for like 6 months, and they basically hadn't really responded to any specifics. And where it stood, this was like where it was left on the table. Once we got this final offer back, the choice was made to strike. So the main thing to note here is look at this shit. So require a second step if hired for a screenplay for less than 250 minimum. What that means is you can't underpay someone just because you aren't selling a script or just because they aren't making something to series. One of the things that's changed in Hollywood is that what used to happen is you'd pay for a pilot, and now they don't pay for a pilot anymore. So they can pay a lot less money. And so this kind of is a way to get us back to closer to payment for a pilot than what it used to be before new media came and changed, the kind of pilot payment schemes. And so then you'll see here, rejected our proposal, countered by offering meetings. So this is seen as like a slap in the face. If you're like, hey, you owe us money. And they're like, how about you sit in a meeting with us to educate creative executives and producers about free work concerns. So how about you sign an agreement to not the thing you demanded? Also, fuck you. Weekly pay. 50% upon commencements, 50% to be paid out weekly over the writing period. Applies if paid is less than $20.50 a minimum. You can opt into weekly pay. So 50% and then 50 over. What it is right now is usually you're paid like about a tenth or so per episode until you get the full amount, and it's completed by the time you hit thresholds in the production process of the episode. So you don't start getting money until you're pretty late in the process, and then you only get it pretty slowly. And so what this is instead just pay us half up front, and then you pay the rest over the time period. That way, before we get to this pretty late process, we at least have fucking money because we sold a show. That's something that used to happen. It doesn't happen. Rejected our proposal. Refused to make a counter. Again, slap in the face. We can skip this. Pre-greenlight rooms, also known as mini rooms, post-greenlight rooms. This is seeking to change the size of writers' rooms. Now, not all writing shows require writers' rooms, but what's been happening is they've been shrunk over time because I think there are certain minimums for writers' rooms, but because they can call them pre and post greenlight, they have some loophole where they can not have minimums. So it's forcing less writers in a room to do more work, usually at less time for much, much less money than would otherwise be the minimum agreement in our contracts as per guild minimums and negotiations. So they found a way to underpay people based on the agreements, and we're saying, how about we close that loophole? Rejected our proposals, refused to make a counter. Slap in the face. Pre-greenlight rooms, minimum staff guaranteed at least 10 consecutive weeks of work. So again, this is getting towards the size of the length of period. So you're actually getting paid, full time for a full. The thing is, they're called mini rooms. They make a whole show. They're just rooms. They just call them mini rooms so they can pay you less. That's literally all it is. That's literally all it is. Writers on staff must get at least 3 weeks per episode. Half of the minimum staff must be employed through production. So that means they can't hire you just for a really short period, fire you early, and then not be paying you, for the term. One writer must be employed through post. That's a big problem sometimes, where they don't have writers in the posting process because they don't have money to pay them. They don't get money to pay them. Reject our proposals, refuse to make a counter. NBA weekly minimums during posts. Rejected our proposal. Refused to make a counter. Minimums. Who hates minimums? You can't have minimums? High budget programs made for AVOD get TV weeklies and script fees and improve residuals. So a big thing that has happened in streaming is streamers said that they can't pay you residuals. And so we have to pay you less than 1/10 to 1/30th of what they used to pay in residuals. You know, I'm sure there can be some middle ground there, but, you know, we want improved ones. Rejected our proposal. Refused to make a counter. Another thing to note is that big streamers. One of the reasons why they take shows off the air, sell them off, or do what HBO Max did and burn them for tax reasons, is so they can stop paying residuals. That's a huge reason they do that, which was kind of one of the big sells initially of streamers is we're always going to have these shows, but then they turn around and go like, well, we don't actually want to pay to keep having them, so we're not going to do that. So they've been burning shows for that reason. And keep in mind, the residuals they pay for those shows are already very, very small. So these shows are getting watched a lot. We're not getting paid for it. But the watches are getting them money. Each member of a team gets P&H contributions as if they were writing as an individual. So a writer's team is a partnership. Like you can have like a two writer partnership, and you can make deals as a writer as if you were one person, and you literally have to split the money. But that's something a lot of people do, especially early on as a writer. You start with a writing partner, you split the money. But for the purposes of accruing income, to determine whether or not you're working enough to get health insurance, you know, because you have to be working for a certain amount of time to get health insurance, you only count as getting half the money. So it's fine, you know, they're already taking the compromise. I can get paid half the money, but now they're only counting as half the money. So they're only counting as half a writer worth of healthcare. So they each only qualify for half of the healthcare that they normally would. Which, you know, it's one thing if it's like, yeah, you pay us, you know, oh, hey, we're partnering and making a deal as one person, and we want 200% as much money as anyone else. I kind of understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but this is healthcare. This is just healthcare. This is just treating people with dignity and giving them healthcare. Rejected our proposal. Refused to make a counter. Regulate use of artificial intelligence on MBA covered projects. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material. An MBA covered material can't be used to train AI. Rejected our proposal. Countered by offering annual meetings to discuss advancements in technology. So, you know, that's just some of the headlines. But I think we saw this stuff, including this, which is, hey, can you please not replace us with AI? And then, no, go fuck yourself. What if we have annual meetings where we show you how we're replacing you with AI? That's that. So we're striking. We got to be, you know. Here's the thing. I've been talking about AI for a long time on this podcast. And one of the things that I have said is that the fight for AI labor rights is going to be crazy, because companies are already doing it. And one of the things I was really, really worried about was that people, being Americans who are complacent, I think they're going to imagine themselves at a crossroads where someone was going to fight it in court, and then they're like, yeah, these guys are going to save us, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, you know, and they're going to be like, yeah, AI's, you know, we're going to save people from AI, I think they're going to, and then maybe then there'll be a dispute that they can fight, and then it'll go to the legislature, and then there'll be protests about AI. I think maybe people are imagining that. But what's actually happening is they're already doing it. And if people right now don't go out and start fighting and saying, hey, you can't replace us with AI right now, we need to be treated as humans and not tossed aside like trash. Once robots can do a lot more jobs than they used to, and you could just make excuses not pay anymore. I think if people don't proactively start fighting that fight, we're just all going to lose. I think they're just going to do it. It's going to happen faster than anyone can imagine. It'll be over, and then everyone's going to be out of a job. And then I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe then we'll have a general strike. I don't know. But I would rather not to get that step. And it's very cool that just coincidentally, the WGA happens to be striking against AI labor exploitation, And I think that's very good. I think it's really lucky that we are already fighting this, because then people are going to see this. And in Hollywood, they're going to see this. The other guilds are going to be fighting for the same shit. And that's going to be good. And then maybe other industries can fight for it too, And that's the only chance we have to not be destroyed by corporations because of AI. And if we could avoid being destroyed by corporations because of AI, the future is going to be fucking awesome. You guys, I don't think you guys have any idea how cool the future could be if AI science continues to develop. As long as we don't die first. So yeah, that's that whole rant,